Before The Last of Us was a fan-favorite HBO series, it was a story-driven, action-packed, emotionally profound video game, and original Joel actor Troy Baker has shared new insight into what it was like bringing that character to life in the game, including in some of the story's toughest scenes overall. Baker is a familiar voice to many, with roles in some of the most iconic franchises in the world, from Indiana Jones to Fortnite and a truly staggering number of others. Yet, among the roles he is best known for is certainly Joel, one of the main characters in the harrowing post-apocalyptic survival game The Last of Us. Joel begins as a father who tragically loses his daughter, Sarah, at the onset of the cordyceps infection outbreak. In the wake of that loss, he goes through the motions of trying to survive in this new nightmarish landscape, only to meet Ellie, a young girl who is discovered to have immunity to the infection. With this new father-daughter dynamic, Joel finds himself in a series of intense, often rather violent situations. This comes to a head when Joel brings Ellie to the Fireflies, thinking they will use her immunity to find a cure, only to discover that their process means killing Ellie, and he massacres them to save her. This scene, and Joel's death, in which he is brutally bludgeoned to death with a golf club, is among the most brutal and difficult to watch in the entire game, and at Comic-Con Napoli 2026, Baker spoke exclusively with Screen Rant about portraying Joel in those scenes, his perspective on the character, and how this role connects to his real-life fatherhood. Troy Baker has a powerful connection to Joel's journey. Credit, Comic-Con Napoli. Although Baker is now well known for playing Joel, the actor shared that, at first, he came very close to walking away. Troy Baker, I came this close to not being Joel. I was on my way out of the audition because I walked into that room, and I was like, I'm not that guy, dude. When you walk in, and I could see, yep, that guy could play Joel, that guy could play Joel, that guy could play Joel, and I'm like, I don't look anything like this character. I'm too young. I was mad at my agent because I was like, you want me to read for some dude who's like 50 years old? Come on, man. And I literally owe it to Christina, who was the casting director at the time. I was turning and opening the door, and she goes, Troy. And I was like, hey. And she goes, good, you made it. They're ready for you. And I walked in. So, she caught me, but I would have allowed my fear and my insecurity and my arrogance to prevent me from the role that I'm kind of here to talk about. There was still a learning curve for the role even after that, Baker shared. Baker, once I got the gig, I had to continually chip away at my ego because now I've got this role, and I was such a fan of Uncharted that I was like, well now I'm the new Nathan Drake. So, I've got to be the new Nolan North, and I've got to impress everybody and make sure that they know they didn't make a mistake. And it took me a long time. You know, Ashley Johnson is not worried about any of that stuff. She's just being Ellie. And it took me a while to catch up to her. Once I did, I think we did something special, but it has been a continual process of me realizing that I don't create these characters. They already exist. I live inside of them for a while. And then I pass them on to you, and then you get to live with them. And then you pass that on to somebody else. It's like we're just custodians of these things for a little while. But boy, while I do, I have a lot of fun. But in terms of how much of himself he brings to the roles he plays, Baker was clear, all of it. Baker, this notion of you've got to shut out your emotions and shut out whatever you're feeling and whatever is happening to you, I'm like, no, that's it, I have to bring it all, no matter what I'm feeling. There have been times when I'm like, man, there is something in my shoe. You bring that. Joel's brutal death also hit hard for Baker, he shared. Baker, there's the 7 stages of grief, and I encountered those with Joel. I bartered. I got angry. Depressed. And then, finally, through multiple different stages, I finally went to acceptance. But, I mean, Neil Druckmann and I fought. And he's one of my dearest friends, and he was like, you have to trust me on this. And he was right. However, Baker revealed, Joel's death wasn't the scene that he and Druckmann fought about the most, it was the scene in which Joel confesses to what he'd done to the Fireflies. Baker, I will never forget being in my backyard and arguing with him. I was like, we can't do this. Never. He would take this to his grave, and it's his burden to bear. And I went into that scene angry. We shouldn't be shooting this FG scene. I was so mad, I realized I was so wrapped up in how Troy Baker felt about that scene. He didn't just go, this is happening, why? That's a great question. Joel would never do that. That's FG interesting, isn't it? In the end, Baker said, this actually became his favorite scene. Regarding whether Joel was in the right for what he did to the Fireflies, Baker has a clear perspective. Baker, there is no right or wrong when you're in that situation. I've always heard people say, I would step in front of a bus for my child. They're not saying it to be noble, it's a fact. This concept hits home for Baker as a father, as well. Baker, in my arrogance, I was like, when our son is born, he will sleep in his own bed. Day 1. And my wife was like, okay. And my son, he'll go through these spurts. He'll go up into his room, and then he'll be like, hey, can I sleep with you guys? And we're always like, yes. So, he was down with us, and he asked me, and every time I say this, I almost cry. He's almost 8, he'll be 8 in like 2 days. And we're about to go to sleep. My wife was already passed out, and he and I finished reading, he finished reading, he puts his book down, I put my book down, and he looks at me, and he's like, Dad, is tonight the last night? And I went, do you want it to be? And he goes, I don't know. I think I'm ready to go to my own bed. Now, he has slept in his own bed before that, but I was like, you need to know this. Before you were born, I was like, he's going to sleep in his own room. And then you got here?